Graduation day is normal.
You have your retreat on graduation day?
Yeah, we usually do it that way in the afternoon.
Oh,
We don't have anyone come to it though. Oh, wow.
Oh crap, no one's here.
I'm leaving.
Feel like that's good.
No, you're fine. Nice to see you. Sorry.
Yeah, man.
I said I didn't mind Norm to be here because there's no public comment.
Good. 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 Keeping busy. I haven't been just busy with family. My wife started a new job.
Much. I'm gonna just stay there long.
Oh, you can move it wherever you want. No Sabrina tonight.
I heard.
Very good.
Me too.
Yeah. I like that.
She may call in.
You know, how you.
I am fine. How are you?
My wife, and my son, I go to the Celtics game tomorrow, I think, part of our 10 game night, but we have to get a sweater.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, they're cheap, so season ticket, you know, what your ticket, the playoff is
I have no idea.
$100.
That's it?
It's very cheap.
Wow.
If you tell the public, I think it's like ones. Yeah. But if I get the finals tickets, I'm selling them. It will go for like $2,000. So, yeah, they're gonna go. I have school board, so
How much you see?
I want to get
Hello.
Can you hear us now?
Hi. Now I can.
Okay. Usually it's pretty quick.
What's all this?
The signing is like 800 signatures.
Would you like to sit there?
No, I would not.
Sure. Okay, okay.
I'm gonna make me coffee because it makes too much noise.
This is gonna get confused.
What
Spot.
have I done here?
I'm not sure where Jeff is at in terms of signing.
Well, we'll know when you have to sign. I think.
I know this file we both signed.
Are people talking into their mics? Because it sounds like everyone's kind of underwater. I don't know if this is how it's going to be during the meeting, but I can't really hear.
Can you hear now?
That was clearer. Yeah.
We can certainly hear you, Sabrina.
Okay. I guess that's good. I don't know. I heard you there better, Ken. Maybe if you guys are closer to your mics, it'll come through better.
You in a tunnel?
So I had to turn way down. So
Oh, okay.
sweep again.
I'm wrong. Yeah. You will bring it up there.
Oh, did he? Oh, last Thursday? No, I missed that. I look, what?
Yeah, I'll give these exactly as soon as I was.
Okay. Yeah, Jeff and I. I think I'm gonna finish this before we start. the meeting. You say 5:30?
Thomas should be coming.
Okay, we'll give him another minute.
Not ready.
She's on
He's
the
on.
phone.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, I'll call this meeting of the Hopkinton Select Board to order. At the moment, we have in attendance Jeff, Stephen, and myself. Sabrina's on the line. First thing we have to do is to vote to allow Sabrina to join us.
Move to allow Sabrina in. I'll second.
Yeah, I'm in favor. So,
Gotta be-
yes,
Aye.
yes, Ken, yes, Steve.
Stephen, yes.
Okay, Sabrina, welcome, and you're in, and any votes we have to take will have to be by roll.
Yes, and I'm really sorry I'm not there. When we had to reschedule for a second time, I had a long-standing conflict. So I was not trying to abandon everyone on this night of trash discussion. So my apologies for not being there in person.
Accepted. just a reminder to everyone in the audience and listening in. As advertised, this is only a select board work session. The purpose is to get clear information from staff and for the board to ask questions, not to make any decisions. There will not be public comment this evening. At a later date or dates, there will be the opportunity for public comment as well as coordination with the Webster Select Board as appropriate. Then the board will hopefully make such final decisions. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Okay, roll call. Jeff?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
And Ken, yes. And do I have a motion to approve the public meeting minutes of April 8, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now go for roll call. Jeff?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
And Ken, yes. Okay, with that, we'll get right into the work session and Dan, Jolene, do you want to just start us off with whatever kind of presentation you put together or did you want?
You
questions
invited,
and answers?
you invited them.
Okay, I'll kick it off. If we re-implemented, well, if we tried to enforce green bags, what do you view as issues?
Personnel, not enough personnel. Enforcement. And what to do with people that are not cooperating.
If I could just note that Thomas has now joined us. Thomas, Sabrina's on Zoom, so any votes we're going to take have to be by roll call.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
You mentioned personnel separate from enforcement. Is there, I guess I expected you to say enforcement, and one of the big barriers that I see to that is not having people there. Do you need other people at the transfer station for some other component of green bags?
You need the people to check which town they're from.
Okay.
Because Webster does not participate in green bags. So someone comes in without green bags, are they from Webster or are they from Hopkinton?
Yeah.
So you need someone there constantly to check their loads and what they have.
Okay.
Enforcement side, we are not police officers. What do you do when someone is unruly?
Looking back historically, there when green bags was first promoted in the first couple of years, there seemed to be better compliance than there is now. Was there any issues with enforcement then, or what were the issues?
We recorded plate numbers for a long time, turned them in on a weekly basis. And that's as far as that went. So all the people who were not using their green bags, there was no consequence to not using their green bags besides their plate numbers getting passed in and doing who knows what with. And I believe the police officers would not do anything with those. So we had talked about dump stickers, but dump stickers are not recorded electronically. And so I don't know who's supposed to look through the binder worth of addresses and sticker numbers that we have on record. And then mailings would have to be done from there. So I think the problem with the enforcement is there is no enforcement.
And I
Can
think
I ask a general question? Sorry.
Go ahead,
Hard
Spring.
not to interrupt when I can't see you guys. So I think we all get our own feedback as a select board, and I think that personally, I now only hear negative feedback about green bags, with the exception of maybe like one or two people who are still holding on to them. But do you guys get feedback these days about green bags, or do you just, I mean, people just don't use them and that's that, or do you hear from people who are annoyed by it, or do you hear positive feedback ever? Like, I'm just curious if
I do, from the people that do use them, they still complain about the quality of the bags. Of course, I think because of the lack of enforcement, the people that disagree with the program just don't use it. And therefore, you're not going to hear a complaint from them. There is not much support of the program that I hear.
Thank you.
And do you have any just ballpark idea on what percentage of town residents use green bags? I mean, I hear people say they always use green bags, but when I go to the transfer station, that's not the case.
Yeah, there's very few, really the honest people who know the town. I mean, when we get new residents, I tell them about the program, that it's there, but their neighbors, none of them use them, so.
Do you get any kind of a feel for, do Hopkinton residents recycle more than Webster residents? Does the fact that there's a green bags, in theory, result in more recycling?
I don't know if I could look from person to person and know that you're Hopkinton or Webster. I feel that most of the people that use our facility recycle or try to some extent. But I wouldn't be able to give you a number.
I'm just wondering if anecdotally, if Hopkinton people seem to recycle more than Webster or vice versa, or if it doesn't make it, if it's the same.
I don't know as it would make a difference. I mean, when the program first started, we saw both sides. We saw some people that came back and said, wow, I didn't realize how much difference the recycling that I pulled out of my trash made and the amount of trash in my bag. And then we also had plenty of people that said, never mind, if you're going to force me, I'm not going to do it anymore. So, I mean, it really depends on the person.
And if anybody else on the board has questions, please jump in. I don't want to monopolize.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sabrina.
No, Stephen, you go. I'll hold my question.
Okay, I was gonna ask to come back to personnel. If you got a directive from the board to try to enforce, I mean, what additional personnel do you think you would need? Maybe one part-time person, one full-time person, more than one?
Well, we are open to the public. Less than 34 hours a week. So one part-time person should be able to man just out front all day long. If there was a system in place beyond us to actually enforce this.
And so there'd be a person, you're envisioning someone to check stickers as you drive in.
Something to that effect.
And then would you need anyone else near the hopper to look at the bags or anything like that?
You could probably station one person by the hopper to check all trash.
That can be very daunting. So
Yes.
I can imagine.
Yes. I think we had 2 ladies from the recycling committee try and come one afternoon to check stickers, and they were busy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like, and I'm not at all trying to put words in either of your mouths, but maybe 2 part-time staff. And then a system in place to coordinate what they were supposed to do.
I gotta agree with Ann and Jolene's position. You know, the big issue is somebody who doesn't want to hear what they have to say. I have a Hopkins sticker, I'm throwing the stuff in the hopper. It's not in green bags, take it home. I don't want it. That's a difficult position for any town employee to be in who doesn't have a badge. And, you know, I'm sure it's not it wouldn't be, 25 or 30% of the people, but it would be some percentage of the people. I mean, there are people who just feel like the program is illegal or unfair, and they don't want to comply.
Jillian also expressed to me that some people would take their green bags and dump them out into the house, into the trash and dump the bag.
Your backpack.
Reuse the green bag, yes.
Right. Yeah,
Did I just
think
hear you say they reuse green bags?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't hear. Oh, wow. Okay. I've never heard that before.
I think something we definitely learned from Saturday is there are multiple. It's easy to, like, in the current ordinance, it's easy to say just, this is how it's going to work, but when it comes down to implementation, the details need to be well thought out.
Yeah.
You can't just say enforce it.
Yeah, it's not all.
There needs to be a way to.
It wasn't all cut and dried on
Yes.
Saturday. It was
Right.
not sure cut and dried for you every day.
Right.
Maybe, Jeff, or you want to explain what you did Saturday?
Sure. Thomas and I and 3 people from the community, Dave Feller, Mike Foley, and Kristen Cummings, checked stickers. That's all we did. You have a sticker? No. Come over here and you can get one. And Thomas has the numbers better than I, but it was just about 50-50 between people who had stickers and people who didn't. And there was a small number of people who were not from either Hopkinton or Webster trying to use the transfer station. And Thomas was very effective at helping them turn their vehicles around and get the hell out. And then there were those that pulled up to the turn to get in and saw that we were checking stickers and slowly pulled away because they didn't want to come in. And so, I mean, that's, again, not a huge number, but out of, what do we check, 150, 160?
Yeah.
It was 5 to 7%.
Yeah.
And that's not an insignificant number for them, for us who pays for it, right? I mean, someone from that end of Concord comes in and drops off their trash, we're paying.
We had a lot of positive feedback from people seeing you guys down there on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yes, the black flies loved us.
I think there's a decent number of other kind of like intangibles that came up too, where it's just like there's little things in the ordinance that if you just say sticker, no sticker, it doesn't answer the question. There's several people who came up who rented a trailer so they could take a load of brush to the transfer station, or borrowed a friend's truck, where they don't have a sticker, but they're residents. There's like these little things that aren't in the ordinance that should be in the ordinance that we should probably address. But I think that there would be, just diving into green bags and saying we should enforce it, there's going to be lots of those little things. How do we take care of it in a real way? Back to questions. So the current transfer station layout was made before the green bags, and we're a 2-town system. If we were to try to do more enforcement with green bags, with a lot of other thought put into it, is there anything you would think of in terms of structure of how people use the transfer station? Or the things that don't work now, is there?
The transfer station for its usage now is set up completely backwards.
Okay.
The office should be the first stop. The demos should be the last stop. But yeah.
Okay. Is that as simple as just saying we're going to turn it around, or if you start to do that, then does it spiral out of control?
I don't know.
You need to move the building.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be a big change.
Yeah. Okay. And then similar question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you finish. Tell me when you're done so I can jump in.
Okay. Similar question for the recycling. Is there structural changes that you'd want to see there before other changes were made? I think we've been talking about balers for the cardboard forever, or other things, or if we're going to start the process of talking about structural changes to the transfer station, the way people come in or out or utilize it, are there specific things that you can already think of that you'd want to see done with the recycling?
I would need more storage for bales. I think that's hard for me to answer because I've been working with that system for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
And so I'm comfortable with it and it works, and I've never done it any other way. So it's hard for me to envision anything different.
Yeah, fair.
Can I develop a horizontal baler? Is that on your wish list at all?
I
I had put in for it a few years ago, but they're very, very expensive.
I know.
And at the time, recycling was kind of in that borderline, when we keep doing it was happening. So I kind of backed off and we got a normal vertical bale.
Yes.
And as long as the staff is up to par, there's no issues. When staff becomes subpar, that's when the horizontal bale would be more effective, because you get a bale done a lot quicker.
When you say subpar, I assume you mean your vacancies.
I don't want to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, Sabrina, why don't you? Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm just trying to think sort of bigger picture. We've got a lot of different issues to deal with, not just green bags, but thinking about in an ideal world, we'd sort of increase efficiencies, reduce trash, increase recycling. And I've been thinking about what we can do that applies to both Webster and Hopkinton. And I'd like to talk and think more about this idea of enforcing what happened Saturday, basically. And it seems like one way of reducing trash that should not be in the transfer station is making sure that it's just Webster and Hopkinton. And so I don't know if there's a way we can do that more consistently. And then my other sort of comment and question is, my understanding is we are one of the very few towns that accepts commercial trash. And so it seems to me an obvious way to sort of cut down on like wear and tear and volume, especially, well, volume, and also just if green bags are going to be in the mix, I think commercial trash brings in a whole nother element of confusion or challenge, I should say. And so do you have thoughts on like, would it make a meaningful difference for your day-to-day or for like, you know, for volume or whatever, for sort of employee time if we were to no longer accept commercial trash?
What are you going to consider commercial trash? Does that include all of the local contractors that have businesses in town, or are you strictly looking at the one commercial trash hauler who's been bringing in the same stuff for ever?
Yeah, well, so I guess both, but there's one hauler who brings in commercial trash, and so that's one thing we could consider, came up at our last meeting, is no longer accepting commercial. And I don't know if that would also include demo and that sort of thing too, but.
My only issue with that is you're now not taking trash from Riverside Pizza,
Villager.
Colonial Village, Herrick Millwork, all those people that pay a lot in taxes now have to pay a lot more to get rid of their trash somewhere else.
As an example of with Colonial, do they have a service or do they bring their trash to the transfer station?
Most of the businesses have a service that takes their trash over. They don't do it themselves.
And it's the same commercial trash hauler that the
I
residential?
don't know who they have. I'm just throwing that out there.
Is there more than one commercial trash hauler that brings to the transfer station?
No.
Do you have any sense of how much the transfer station makes just from the commercial waste that we get?
I don't have
That
that.
would just be from,
That would be one hauler. Had I known before we got here, I could have gotten those
Wait.
numbers for you.
do you mean like,
We
like,
have that
do
information.
you mean like makes in terms of profit or revenue?
What's our revenue?
What's the
I think
revenue,
he's
yeah.
asking what's our
Yeah.
revenue.
Yeah. I think I have the total commercial revenue numbers.
I may have missed it.
And grab the budget because that has what we took in last year. You want that?
That'd be great, yes, please.
So
So,
it, sorry,
so your commercial trash would also include currently residential trash.
yeah.
It's not in green bags at this point.
So the,
It's not just allowing for just businesses, it's also residential.
right, I think, so the numbers I think that I pulled from the budget from this year is 453,000 total hauling revenue. 132,000 of that is from demo tipping, and then the rest is from municipal solid waste, so 321,000. But that number, I mean,
It looks like commercial, we took in $95,257 last year.
yeah, that sounds more right than this number.
So,
I wish your numbers were right.
yeah. 95.
95. And you were playing with the rates because the rates are low.
We're not making money, right? Off of, aren't we in a break-even situation?
This is just this.
Yeah,
this
right.
slice.
Oh, other question. So, I mean, the population's been increasing over the last 20 years in terms of like the total capacity of the transfer station. How do you feel we're at? I mean, are we nearing capacity of transportation and we're not far off from needing a huge overhaul, or is transportation pretty stable and can handle double the population? I'm just kind of curious in terms of how much we think we could get through there without major changes.
I think the station itself, solid waste, I think we might need to purchase some more trailers.
Okay.
If you start an increase in, and maybe the trucking company comes a little more frequent.
Okay.
Cycling may need, that's already in CIP, we need to upgrade that whole building. So it's better use for them and people.
Sure.
And so possibly another baler.
So not like crazy, like if the population increased by 10%, it's not like the place would blow up.
NRRA had done a review, let's call it, of the station operations. And from what I recollect, it was a very positive report. Is there anything that came out of their report that you see that you could do that would be beneficial?
I didn't see the report.
I think he talked directly, so I don't
Yeah,
think
he
there was
came
anything
over and-
specific.
No,
No specific recommendations? as
No.
such. Okay. It wasn't maybe. Go ahead, Sabrina.
Just another thought / question. I've talked about this a little bit with some of you, and I know we've talked about it over the years. But I know some towns do, including the town Neil lives in, they do mandatory recycling. So it's an ordinance that says you have to recycle, and obviously not a perfect system, I imagine, but I think the enforcement is spot checking. So I'm just curious to hear if this is something like you've heard of at other transfer stations or towns, and if you have any like reactions to the thought of the idea that people have to recycle, and instead of trying to enforce green bags in a, this is all hypothetical obviously, but having to do like spot checking to make sure people don't have like bags full of recyclables going into the hopper.
We could run into the same issue as with the green bags where both towns are not doing it. It's going to become very difficult.
If both towns had to, though, that's part of the benefit of this, I think, is if we changed our ordinance, I believe then Webster would have to either change theirs, I can't remember exactly mechanically, but hypothetically, and I think actually in reality, it would also apply to them. So in that world where it applies to everyone, does that seem like a little more realistic?
Neil says he has mandatory recycling and they have people outside of the transfer station staff that do spot checks. And that works well for their town. Bradford has mandatory recycling and I have heard horror stories from that transfer station with the management there because it is the transfer station employees managing that and checking the bags on the daily.
So people being mad, sorry to interrupt, but people are angry that they're being spot checked?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Interesting.
I know Warner has it. I don't know how they
Not
enforce
heard
it though.
much about that.
I haven't either.
I would be concerned with the quality of the recycling that we would end up receiving. We already spend a lot of time picking the stuff that doesn't belong out. And we already have people that come in and you can tell the people that try and don't understand the program and the people that come in and just entirely dump their can because they don't care to try.
Do you have thoughts just from like your time and experience on like, I mean, do you have ideas on how we could improve recycling, and or do you have thoughts of like alternatives to green bags?
Said before, I feel like a huge amount of the people that use the facility are trying to recycle. Very rarely do I see a large load of recycling go in, unless you're talking about that group of young people that have partied all weekend and you see all the cans go in or the party trash. I think you can just keep talking to people.
I know signage has improved. Is there any more signage that we could be done that might help?
I have tried every sign under the sun. There's about, I don't know, 8 signs that say bottles only, and we are constantly picking out cups and salad containers, and really it would be ideal, and we're getting there, get to a point where we can staff in the recycling to actually talk to people, because face-to-face talking and educating it does wonders.
There is a thing called sign pollution. You have too many signs
Yes.
and people just do not pay attention to them.
This may be a silly question. Are you currently fully staffed right now? What do you?
Mostly.
Yes.
I don't know how to quantify it. So,
I don't want to get into that right now, but most.
okay. If you were fully staffed, would you have enough personnel and staff time to have someone help with the recycling?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I would say one of our issues is because of the way things are now, finding staff that stays and finding the level of staff that we need. For the full-time positions are great. It's having part-time positions are hard, it's hard to keep people.
Yeah.
It's really hard to keep good people.
Just like we've heard anecdotally, and Jeff and Thomas have confirmed it this weekend, that people from Concord take advantage of our station. Another similar concern is the metal. Are people taking metal and reselling it. They in effect stealing town revenues.
I don't know if they're reselling. Also, I know is experience from growing up, my father, it does not get sold, it's sitting in my parents' basement.
That was a place I was wondering if a sign would be, that it's not for resale. Just something simple like that.
One of the things that we've talked about, is the switch to curbside. And requiring everyone to use curbside, and there's a host of sort of issues we need to resolve, but I'm just wondering if everyone in town had to do curbside trash, at least, maybe not recycling, but trash pickup. And all that trash was coming to the transfer station. I mean, could it handle the additional trash?
I don't know if you could have a lot of addition.
I was gonna say,
There'll be,
Okay.
there'll be some additional from the other haulers that are out there. But I don't think they're to the scale that Kirk is.
Okay.
It could, so that's an interesting question. I think it could be up to 25% more. So from the numbers I can get, about half the town is using curbside, and empty trash is about half of the curbside. So that'd be 25% is being done by All Clear and H2O, and they don't come. So it could be up to like 25% more trash.
Like I said,
Way less traffic, but
I think she could handle.
Yeah.
Just we may not have to purchase
yeah,
more trailers.
more trailers.
so what's going to happen to the recycling in that case, if you're trying to encourage more recycling? If they're not already
I-
coming to the facility,
I think it's like the same level of thought as we should just enforce green bags. Lots of additional questions about how and what would happen next beyond that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
don't-
plus I was thinking of people just still coming to the dump because we still have the Webster problem. So it would still have to stay open for them, and we would probably just have people, acting as they act now, which is not using green bags and just being like, I'm not using town pickup. So I think it poses a lot of problems.
Yeah, and I don't have answers for all those other issues. I was just curious of
Yeah.
the facility that we have right now, and staffing we have right now, if that switch would cause a strain on either or both of those things.
I think an increase in trash is not a big deal.
Okay.
There's not a lot of
Either-
handling of it.
Right, either way, it would be a strain, we would have to get into that position to see what we would
Yeah.
need.
Okay. Okay, that's fair.
I don't think it would be major, but we would probably definitely need. At minimum, at least a measure.
Okay.
Just for storage while we're waiting for.
How many trailers do we have now?
Three.
3 trailers?
This may actually be a question for Neil. The packet that we were sent, the last item in the packet was a NRRA monthly report. And I did not understand it because numbers seem much too high for Hopkinton.
It's the same report you get every month.
The last one,
So. 5B.
11.
I'd be
11,
The F.
number 11, the bottom.
because it was a FYI. Got it. It just reflects what's gone through NRRA.
So is it NRA in total, not just Hopkinton?
I think it's just us.
$12 million?
No, that's, look where the decimal point is.
$12,000.
$12,000.
Okay, 90,
So it looks like we took in 12,000. The expense was 1,842.
okay, it was that the cents were in 4 digits is what was throwing me.
Yes.
43,000 cents.
Okay.
There again, I wish you were correct.
Okay. Sabrina, I know you had a time constraint. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I have to drop in like 2 minutes, but I do want to talk a little bit more about this idea of trying to improve how we can stop people from outside of Webster and Hopkinton from using transfer station. So I don't know if we can put a pin in that, or if you guys want to talk a little bit more about what that could look like. But otherwise, I just thank you, Jolene and Dan, for being there and for coming in and chatting with us tonight. And I'm sorry I have to jump.
We haven't talked about it tonight, so this is kind of a new topic. But I wanted to bring up composting. And I think that you guys have given us some input on that before. But my reason for asking is that I understand that we pay obviously by weight for getting rid of our waste. And if we had a way to reuse some of the weight of all the food scraps, that could potentially save us some money. But I understand there's probably a significant cost to do that. And so I just wanted to get your sense about what, if we wanted to implement a composting program, what would you need from us in terms of facility or staff to do something like that?
Well, just before we even started, I would need around minimum $30,000 to upgrade the drop off point down below. Because it's all sand. The loader with the solid built tires, because they need to have the solid tire because of punctures. It can't move down there. It's not like, I mean, the highway department's loader can go down there and move all around. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have solid fill tires. So you're talking about re-graveling that whole area down there. So she's not just sitting there spinning, trying to.
Okay. Anything else you can think of?
No, I think that covers our issues.
Okay.
We just can't move anything.
When the transfer station permit has to be adjusted.
It may have to be, but I think that that's very minimal. They've made that quite easy at this point because they want to encourage that.
Is there a staffing concern at all if there was a compost area?
There's only one loader.
Okay. So.
There's only
Can you
40
grant that?
hours a week that loader can run.
Okay.
So,
It's gotta do, take the bales out, give them material. Push metal down on
Yep.
that kind of stuff as well, so they have limited time on when they can go down and move brush. We actually helped her out last week, because we had the excavator over there moving the blocks, and I just sat there and threw brush in the back of the dump truck, and we took it around back.
Okay.
Just to get them caught up, because they were.
I'm jumping off now, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, thanks.
Thomas?
I don't think I have any other questions.
Okay, did we miss anything? Anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I'm here.
Appreciate it.
I think if you guys wanted to come back and check stickers again, that would greatly help.
I'm all for that. It was nice.
Sure.
Really like to see it and
Let me know what.
We did get some nice feedback from people coming out.
We didn't. And, you know, to be fair, there were virtually no problems all day. There was a couple of belligerent people for various reasons. But we weren't telling anybody they couldn't drop their trash.
Mhm.
Right.
We weren't dealing with green
Yes.
bags at all. If we were to do that, we would have a significant amount of pushback, I believe.
Yes.
Not that that wouldn't be fun. But we would probably have to have an officer on duty to quell the unhappy people.
I think if you found as many people as you did that were trying to use it from Concord, a more frequent checkpoint for a while might inhibit that and get us back on a,
Yeah.
I don't know the word. I'm
Yeah,
looking
and
for.
I see Mike Foley's still on. Mike helped us on Saturday. And Dave Feller and Kristen Cummins. And that was the right amount of people. I mean, we had a couple of times where someone had to wait for us to give them a sticker, but for the most part, that was the right number of people to help. Again, if we were checking green bags, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And how do we get them to, you know, where do they turn around?
So there was 4 of you and that was the right number.
Five. Thomas and I and 3 others.
I mean, checking was the easy part. Getting people stickers was the hard part.
Just as slow because we had to
Yeah.
make out, you know, the sticker number, the name, the address, and the plate number, which I will get to you tomorrow. You know, I'm putting them in an Excel spreadsheet so you don't have to deal with that. But yeah, what we give out 80 or 80 stickers as well, I think. Between Hobby and Webster.
That was great.
If you want to do that again, I'll be around this weekend.
Not this weekend.
Okay.
I'm advertising.
You can't tell me you're gonna be there. That's the fun out of it.
I think it makes a lot of sense to sort of do a barrage now and then to do ongoing
Spot check.
unannounced spot checking. Just to make sure to keep that, because I think it was more significant than I would have expected it to be.
It
So,
was as well for me. I
so
think it's a little bit easier on a weekday for sometimes, maybe not in the summer. Sometimes, Mondays look like a Saturday. But Saturdays would be extremely easy for people to come in all of the crazy
Right.
and go unnoticed.
And there were a few that drove by and saw that we were checking stickers and they decided whether to turn in and then they took off.
Mhm.
so currently we have 2 color stickers, one for Webster, one for Hopkinton.
Right.
Some towns change them every year and they match the color. That's kind of seems like overkill, but should we maybe work it every 5 years? We do a switch over.
We saw some that were 20 years old. on
Yeah, I remember
Red and white ones. It was very.
the A's and the B's, there were
yeah.
A's and B's, right? I remember when pay by bag was implemented, seeing
Still have a roll
those.
of
So
those.
that might be something we look at. We could at some point say, okay, we're gonna switch over and either do it and give them all out as they go. The clerk's office also should automatically give them to new cars and make sure.
Yeah, and we should also talk through how people handle it if they're borrowing a car or renting a car, or company trucks was a big one. How we handle that, just so it's official.
Also, depending on which way to go, maybe you'll more electronic stickers. Where their name and address is right in the computer, you just punch in the sticker number and it comes up and you know who it is. So if you have enforcement,
Yeah,
you have to deal with it, it's a lot easier to access.
Would be in Excel, so you could search pretty quickly by number.
That would mean
That might
people
be-
would have to do it at the town clerk's office and not with us.
Just send it,
Otherwise you
yeah.
have too many reference points for it.
That's probably the advantage to switching stickers and starting and doing it all electronically from the beginning. So we have everything clear that multiple people can access. When we first started pay by bag, we were able to use license plates and get who that belonged to. And then there were some people, and we did notices, but then that became not an available thing, that information can't be given out. So, so the license plates don't work.
I mean, I think that in the agenda Neil put together, I think there's a lot to discuss. I don't have any other questions. I don't know how we want to start going through this.
After we're finished with these good.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions or comments. I think thank you for coming. It's been really helpful.
Thank you.
And thanks for the help bringing stuff before we did
Yeah.
the check the other day. That was really helpful. too.
Yeah.
Even though Dave fella tried to get hit many times, but didn't. I was like,
Yeah, no one got their toes run over.
no,
I can leave that there if you guys, if you want.
yeah, if you don't need them in the next 5 or 6 weeks, maybe, but if you need them, I'll let you know when we set it up.
I think we might need them every day.
Okay.
That's our public statement.
That's it.
Especially Tuesdays and Thursdays, Sundays. I guess that for now, we're done with questions for the two of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up. Appreciate it. Love the sweatshirt.
And Neil, thank you for your memo sort of outlining the different issues. I don't know, does anybody have any specific questions for Neil?
These are kind of the questions I think we need to answer. Eventually.
Yeah.
And I think from a staff perspective, we'll make whatever you decide work. We're just kind of looking for that direction of which way do you want to go.
Do we have other ordinances that we issue fines for that are easy to enforce?
There are no other ordinances that are really enforced by anybody other than the police that would issue fines. So I think that's different. Like, for example, the ATV ordinance has a fine, the open container law has a fine, but those are all police enforced.
Yeah.
So it goes to district court. Where pay by bag is a little bit different.
Yeah, but like stickers, for example. Enforcing stickers.
I think with stickers, you turn people away at the gate.
Yep.
I don't think it's a fine. It's just a non-use of facility.
Well, if you wanted to be harsh, even if someone had a sticker, if they weren't using green bags, you could write them up for theft of services, which is a hassle, certainly for the police.
Yeah. Courts definitely would not be happy given that.
So does anybody have any questions for Neil at this point?
Is that because you're going to let me go?
Yeah. Don't you wish?
Kara's still stuck taking notes though.
That's right.
Okay, so any thoughts from the board at this point?
I mean, I don't like the system we have right now, and it obviously has a lot of deficiencies that we're trying to wrestle with. I guess what I haven't really decided in my own mind is whether we're at a point where we give up on the green bag system entirely, or if we try to staff up and work through some of the enforcement and other issues. It was mentioned in our materials, I forget the year when green bags was implemented.
2010.
2010.
Yeah, but there were a bunch of attempts after that to rescind it. They all failed. And so, it is still what the people have voted in. And so if we were to decide to do away with it, I would be more comfortable if that was something we recommended at a town meeting.
Yeah,
And have a vote
Do
on
we
it.
have the power to get rid of it just ourselves?
No, I don't think we do, but I guess I'm saying, you know. I guess I'm talking about the enforcement side of it. You know, if. There are some issues that I think are gonna take more time to resolve. Than we have between now and the next town meeting. And I don't know, I think until all the residents show up in March. And say, you know, we want you to throw more money at this and work through all the problems. Or do something drastic and switch to curbside, whatever the cost ramifications of that are. You know, I think we need to try to work through some of the enforcement issues. Until we have clear direction from the voters.
I think for all of this stuff, the starting point is enforcement.
Yeah.
Like if we don't have a basis of a good enforcement policy, then anything we decide to do doesn't really matter. And I think that there's like different levels of enforcement. I think like stickers are easy. You just tell them you can't come in through the gates. And then as you start to do more, that enforcement becomes more difficult unless there's structural changes with how people use the transfer station. I think there's like no easy answer there. Like it's, you could say Hopkinton uses one day a week, Webster uses the other days a week. That makes it easy, but that's not a good, it's not a good answer. You could say Hopkinton uses one side of the hopper, Webster uses the other. That also would help, but I don't think that's a good, like there's, I don't know, unless we have like a good method of enforcement, and then beyond just structurally how people use the transfer station. If there's not a good way to follow up with the enforcement, like having fines or something else, I think we'll land in the same spot that we're now. We're like, Jolene will say, hey, you can't dump that. Someone will just say, screw you, I'm gonna chuck it in the hopper, and then 6 months later, we're in the same spot again.
If our conclusion is that we can't enforce it. Then I'd like us to get to a point where we can propose some sort of alternative.
No, I don't think the conclusion is that we can't enforce it. I think that without changes to the way people are using the transfer station, right now, we can't enforce it. And if we don't have a way of doing fines or some other thing that doesn't require Jolene to stand there and yell at people, then I don't think we can enforce it. We need something different than that. I don't know what that, like, if we don't have a way of handing out fines, I don't know what it would be.
You don't think that turning people away is sufficient?
I think if it's stickers, that one at the gate is easy to turn people away.
Yeah.
I think if someone pulls in to the hopper and is standing there with a bag in their hand, I think that is not as easy to enforce. If you don't have a badge standing there, then you can write a ticket.
What if you did that and then, I mean, we need someone to write down that person's license plate number. Can we get their name, the license plate number? We can't get any information, the license plate number.
No, but if they broke an ordinance, then you could report them to the police and they could follow up with them. That would be the only.
Okay, where I was going was, and this may not be feasible, but if you identify who's not using green bags, yet they're a Hopkinton resident, could we then suspend their sticker so that they're not able to come in anymore?
That's even more difficult to implement.
Well, unless we came up with a good way to do it.
Yeah. Checking individual sticker numbers as someone comes through the gate.
Yeah,
Running it against, have they had infractions before?
yeah,
And then, oh, sorry, we're taking your sticker off your car.
Yeah.
Go home. It's
really hard.
that's why I brought it up.
I'm okay with
Get that feedback.
confrontation, but. You know, I don't want to get my arm squashed in the window while I'm
Yeah.
trying to pull a sticker off someone's front windshield.
So I think if you were going to enforce it and you have somebody there to enforce it most of the time, you do it, you know, you make sure you're set up with enough people to begin with. You do similarly to what happened when it was implemented, you start on, okay, on this date and real public campaign that we're going to start, you need them then, and then you have sort of this grace period where you provide them as they come in with something that's a reminder and the knowledge that on this date you're done. They're not coming in. But But in order to effectively, because you have both Hopkinton and Webster, you really have to have somebody dedicated to just doing that. There's no real other way to enforce that. You wouldn't necessarily, once it happened, have to do it all the time, but you'd have to do it on a fairly regular basis to make it work, I think.
Well, it sounds like signage is, well, excuse me, not signage, but the stickers, enforcing that might be low hanging fruit in terms of what we want to do. And then I thought I was hearing that, having somebody explaining, well, this could go into recycling or this should not go into recycling would also be beneficial, and might be some other low hanging fruit before we get to the real issue of green bags.
I agree with that. What I heard was that there's a real difficulty in getting dependable part-time workers to do that. And so yes, we can do that, but I wonder if we ought to have an additional full-time person just to attract someone that's gonna stick around. Which is obvious, there's additional cost to them, obviously.
I mean, that's what we did in this last budget. We changed the part-time to a full-time.
Right.
For that reason. And maybe we just have to wait and see how that works out.
Yeah.
That's been very effective.
Great.
We're happy with that. Big difference.
Place looks better. Huh?
Yeah. And that's largely because of that change. Remember, for a good portion of time, we haven't even had applicants for the open part-time positions. Never mind qualified applicants. We haven't had any.
Anything else? Any members of the board want to raise at this point? Mention at this point?
Do we?
Before,
Well,
I mean,
we're not having public input tonight. That's
but
in the
hope-
future.
no, I know. but-
Hopefully you're gonna make some decisions
Yeah.
as to where you're headed.
I mean, the more I think about stickers, the more I think it could answer a lot of problems. Cause it is easy enough to check a sticker at the transfer station or at the gate.
shaded area at the top of the windshield.
Yeah, no, I know. Sometimes they're in weird spots. But I mean, if we're doing different colored stickers every year, if you get it with your car registration. And if you aren't following the rules and you no longer can get a sticker anymore. It's not a fee, and it takes a while for that to impact someone who's not following the rules, but. It would effectively do it.
Following the rules, which rules? You mean green bag rules?
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't know unless you were doing enforcement on green bags.
Right, but you don't need to stand there and tell someone who's belligerent with you. You just say, you're not gonna get a sticker if you don't follow the rules.
Once they have it, there's nothing requiring them to follow the rules.
Well, unless they can't get a sticker next year, that's what I'm saying, if they're, or if we are recording numbers and checking at the gate. It's not a perfect solution, it's not.
No, it's not.
Then you're moving the issue to the clerk's office to enforce it too. So we just need to think all that through.
Well, what I was thinking in terms of next steps is that, not our next meeting, but the meeting in 3 weeks, we'd be having public comment and potentially having the Webster Select Board.
Public comment on what? You haven't done anything.
Well,
So let me start this, because I know what you're fishing for, Neil.
I'm fishing for anything.
I don't see the crib side as economically viable for us, based on the 2014 numbers, which would it be at least double now, if not triple. Let me finish. I know that you're in favor of it, and I
No.
and I know you don't
No,
care what it costs.
No, that's like, okay.
The incremental cost was $400,000 to $600,000 over what the current system was at that time. So that's somewhere between $800 and $1.2 million increase in our budget.
Wait,
which is not gonna fly.
It was 400,000 was the quote from 2015, wasn't it?
$518 to $632 was the number, 185 was the
No, no.
transfer station cost at the time.
Down at the bottom.
I'll go down to 500 to 800,000. We
Fine.
still can't afford it.
No, manual total expense. Okay, wait.
I know you don't like that number now that you're
No,
looking.
no, no,
at it,
because
but
that's not
reality
the right
is we
number.
can't
That
afford
wasn't
it
the quote.
in our budget.
That wasn't the quote.
I'm on page 4 of the memo.
That was the 2015 report.
Yeah,
$518,833 to $632,833.
okay. I'm fine with that. We can use some numbers. It's fine.
I just don't see us being able to absorb $1 million or
So
$700,000 increase to the budget.
So the only thing I'll say, which again, I do not want to push for curbside pickup, but the one thing I'll say is that right now, currently, if half the households are using curbside pickup at the lowest quote, if they're using the lowest hauler quote, that's roughly $500,000 to $600,000. So the town is already spending that money.
The town is not spending money for curbside recycling.
I mean, the
Curbside
town,
pickup.
the town government is, but the residents of the town are. And so whether or not it's an increase to. I mean, whether or not you're spending that money through taxes to then get the service, or whether or not you're paying for that service directly, you're still paying for the service. So in terms of whether or not it's feasible in the town as a whole is already spending that money.
And some of it,
Some of them, yes,
not all.
not all, I agree.
Just for the record, the same place Jeff is. I'm very opposed to curbside. And I was involved when that study was done, and I think there were major gaps in particularly the commercial industrial customers that are paying taxes in town and how they would be treated under this. And I would look at it, the people that are paying to have curbside pickup now, maybe they're wealthier than people that are not. And you're forcing another.
Yeah, but
cost.
on the flip side of that, okay, so on the flip side of that though, if the only people that are being enforced on green bags, then what we're doing is we're taxing residents who can't pay for pickup. So like, yes, I agree with you, the people who are taking the cost of curbside pickup right now are the residents who want to and are willing to and can afford it. But on the flip side, if the only people we're enforcing green bags are on, and we're increasing the price of the green bags, the only people we're charging are the people who don't want to or can't afford the curbside pickup.
We haven't talked about, at this point, tonight anyway, talk about changing the price of green bags. You know,
Or have we
that
talked
was,
about it for a year?
yeah.
Steve, no opinion?
No, I mean, I hear what everyone's saying about curbside. I don't know how we can do that. I don't disagree with the complaints that people have are raised about it. I wish it was an option. Cause I think it would address some of our issues. But there's some really significant things we'd have to iron out, including the cost.
Yeah, the cost and how would it, since we don't have single stream recycling,
Yep.
you know, how would you deal with the recycling aspects of it? Because it's easy to just put it in a bag and have it go away.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not what our goal is. Our goal is to maintain recycling if we can.
Unless you're paying for it via green bags, in which case it is easier but more expensive.
I don't understand.
So if you have curbside pickup, but you're paying for the curbside pickup with green bags, then you don't have single stream recycling. And it is easier for you to just dump all your recycling into a green bag, but that you're paying for that green bag.
Yes. And for the pickup.
Right, but I'm saying there's an incentive there to recycle. The incentive is not having to pay as much, because you can then take your recycling to the transfer station. So it's not like the incentive goes away. It just is weird. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, without recycling, it's weird.
So is that a consensus that curbside is off the table for this year?
Well, I think certainly. I'd say that is a consensus then.
I'm just
And-
trying to narrow down.
Mhm.
I know, that's why I jumped in, Neil.
How else can we narrow down at this point?
Are we doing our victory lap now?
Victory lap, I don't think.
Let's, because I
So-
think it's the
Well,
next easiest.
How about
let's jump to-
stickers?
The only
to the
thing,
sticker.
just to reiterate one more time, more than half the town is using curbside. If there was like, the cost is there. The people using it is there, and it solves every single enforcement issue.
But one thing though, the people using curbside are paying for the use of the transfer station. And they are choosing additionally to pay for the service of curbside pickup. If everybody had curbside pickup, then that gets spread over the people. It certainly is going to put everybody up. And even though those 50% would save money, the other 50% are paying more because they're now forced to pay for curbside. So I think there has to be a balance somewhere there, as well as our cost would go up, which you could collect from the green
Yeah.
bags because of the added 25% trash that we'd have to handle. Although hopefully more recycling, but
It still doesn't address the recycling issue.
Yeah.
How that would be likely to be reduced.
The 2015 quotes didn't have recycling, did they? No, they didn't, with single bin recycling. Manual pickup with single bin recycling.
I think that was based on quotes from a couple of the big haulers. Those estimates were put together.
So I think we still have a consensus and we could move to stickers.
Sticker seems like an easy one.
Everything seems easy at the start.
So are the current stickers adequate? Or should we switch over, create a new database? And then how often should we set up to change them? I'm not sure they really need to be changed every year. I'm not sure that's an added expense and a lot of work to switch them over. But it might be maybe every 3 to 5 years would be the logical thing. And then you have that year. Once you've done it once and got everybody with a new sticker, which I think you would want to do probably as soon as possible to switch everybody over, then that year that you're switching, just come January 1st, they start switching it over and we have the double stickers for the year, but they are all issued by the clerks in each town. And then and people just have to come to the clerk's office, which they have to do anyways. And the stickers, though, in that year are automatically sent with each new registration, so the car has it.
So one of the issues we faced on Saturday was people who had put their sticker in the sun visor type area that's shaded. And Thomas couldn't see them. The person, oh, I got a sticker. And they'd have to point to where it was. I mean, even
I'm new to checking.
from 3 feet away, you couldn't see it. And, you know, once the person pointed out, okay, yeah, I get it. It's not where it belongs. And, you know, there'd be some education there to make sure they were in the right spot, passenger side, lower, because that's the most visible when you pull up to the hopper.
Right.
And that's where we tried to make sure everybody put their new stickers that we were giving out the other day. I mean, that's just one issue that we need to address. The other issue, you know, as we talked about, you know, company cars that aren't registered in town, but the resident wants a sticker. Or I borrowed my father's truck and he lives in Bow and I want to dump all my crap today. You know, those are implementation issues that we need to solve. We're not gonna solve them tonight, but those are issues we need to address going forward. You know, as for as I say, we saw stickers that were 20 years old. The sticker on my truck is probably 9 or 10 years old. You know, we just always been there, moved from one truck to the other, and it sticks really good. But again, we need to educate people on, get rid of the old sticker, put this new one on your windshield. You know, there was a gentleman who didn't want the name of the town on his vehicle because he travels to other towns and doesn't want people to know where he's from. And there were plenty of people who said, yeah, I have a sticker. They pulled it out of the ashtray and said, here it is. And you know, those were 8 or 10-year-old stickers for the most part too. Again, just all little issues that you have to deal with if you're going to enforce the stickers.
I think one step before the stickers, so the stickers is currently our only method of enforcement. You have a sticker, you can use a transfer station. You don't have a sticker, you can't. That's the only thing we're currently even remotely enforcing. So if someone right now isn't following the rules in some way, what do we do? If someone is taking a bunch of scrap metal out to the brush pile and throwing it in constantly, and Jillian says don't do that, and they keep doing it. What do we do? What do we do for that person? And if stickers are gonna be our enforcement, what do we then do with stickers? Do we then say that person, we take their sticker away?
Well, but if we go stickers and have numbers and we know what their sticker is, we can easily track them down, and then
So, but
we
then
have to determine what the process is
But
from that point on.
that's, I think, to me, it's less about like whether or not, like, that's the part that's important, like what that process is, trying to figure out what that change to the ordinance that we're going to do.
So even if you have, let's say my sticker, you know, I do something wrong, they write it down. They give it to you and you look up my plate now, well, it's don't know what a pain in the neck he is. What are you gonna do? Send me a letter? Send me a nasty gram?
That's what the pay by bag ordinance does, and that's what we.
No, but that doesn't
But
work,
there's
right?
no
It's not-
That doesn't work. I agree.
So
You need to-
If I don't care about getting a nasty gram, I'm just gonna pump it up, put it in recycling for the paper.
that's why it's kind of like, to me, that's the important part to talk about before we talk about how we're gonna get people stickers, because if we're gonna say we're gonna check everybody's sticker coming in, then we should change the sticker, so it's really easy to do that. Or if we're gonna say we're gonna not give those people stickers in the future, then it makes more sense to be giving stickers.
Except you can do that simultaneously and not wait till you figure all that out, because most people are compliant. It's so few people, like you had very few people, nobody really gave you a hard time. It's
I think,
few and far
but
between.
I think that's because there was a lot of us right at the gate. I think if this was checking green bags at the hopper.
Green bags
it would be-
is a whole, we're just talking stickers at the moment.
Right, but if stickers are our means of enforcement, then the stickers have to cover all of they need to cover everything. Like if that's gonna be our means of enforcement.
But to have a solid sticker program in place, then you could,
Right, but if
you
stickers.
need that first before you can
Right, but
use
that's what I
that
mean.
as
If
your
stickers are
enforcement.
going to be the means of enforcement, then we should be talking about how we're going to use the stickers, because that might, like, if we're saying every sticker that's gonna come through is we're actually gonna look at, then we should make the stickers bigger, or the numbers easier to read, or scannable, or something.
Yeah, you can't, that's not gonna be feasible at all. I think you're using just the number to track down those few people that you have to track down.
But then what?
Well, that's
That's-
what you have to decide in
Right,
the ordinance.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, like, if then what is we don't give them a sticker in the future, then I would say we should give out stickers every year.
I get what you're saying.
So you'd have to do the stickers every year to have that be the penalty.
Yes, right.
Yes, because without that, how do you keep track of,
Right.
like Jeff's point earlier? Who's been a violator and who hasn't,
Right,
unless you have a way to annually get your sticker.
right.
I'm not convinced not giving someone a stickers effective enforcement. I
Well,
think,
if there's 2 cars in the family and I get mine pulled.
there are
my wife
other
will have
ways,
hers.
yeah.
Well, it could be by,
Well, in New York, what do
Could be
you
right.
get, 7 cars over here?
it could be by residence, I mean, We get to determine that, right? Doesn't have to be, well, yeah.
So before, I mean, have we ever instituted a process to collect fines for violating the pay by hours for the stickers or anything?
I don't think the ordinance has a fine connected to it. You could add that.
The penalty says.
Pay by bag may, but I don't think the transfer station ordinance does, which has the stickers in it. And pay by bag has a warning, and we worked up through there, and then it wasn't very effective.
So it sounds like the consensus is that stickers is certainly part of an answer. And that probably having new stickers for all appropriate individuals makes sense. And it might, if nothing else, keep out the Concord trash, and that could be 5% of the total. So that there's potentially significant dollars from just savings from just doing that.
Well, I think anytime there's a new registration, not a new car, but a new registration, if I bought Thomas's little right-hand drive van, that there should be a sticker for every new registration. And the little card that says, oh, by the way, the green bags are required, and here you go, here's the places you can get them. That's a low-hanging fruit that, if nothing else, new people to town when they register their vehicles will understand that we have a green bag ordinance, because a lot of new people don't, just don't have a clue. But I don't know the ins and outs of the clerk's office and how that would be handled with them.
That should not be an issue as far as giving out with each registration.
Sometimes
you
things
sticker.
are issues, sometimes they
Switch it.
aren't.
Yeah, no, I don't think that would be an issue.
That's, again, just low hanging fruit of increasing the number of updated stickers.
Does anybody see any other low hanging fruit? Other than education in general?
I'm still not entirely clear how we would actually turn people away. Like structurally, what would we recommend to Jolene to enforce the stickers?
Well, it's back to the issue of if there's staff at the hopper,
Would it be the hopper or would it be the gate?
I think it would be the hopper.
I think you'd probably do spot checking too on the gate. I think that works pretty well.
Oh, but it's
And I
two
think
different
that would-
staff.
It
You
would,
don't have staff at two locations.
right. It wouldn't necessarily be staff. We'd have to figure that out.
I did say the sticker check sign, so we can put it at the gate if we have one.
And then what about like if you rented a truck? Sorry, what?
You're always going to have some gray areas that are going to require interpretation. So you can add in there
Yeah, but I mean,
that if it's a resident in a non-temporary truck, if you're checking stickers, you check their ID and make sure they're from town.
I mean, I'm just bringing it up because what we should put those things in the ordinance. We should make whoever's doing it, we should make it as easy as possible for them.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you'd say license and registration. If they match, then you don't get the break. If it's a rented truck or a borrowed truck, then it should be from some other town, and your license has to be Hopkinton West.
Or you can just say,
But
anyone with a
I
license has to
think
go
we
over
had
the
someone who
scale.
came in and said, well, you know, I'm moving this stuff for my brother. And it's my truck, but I'm from Bob. Well, tell
Bring
your brother to sit in the
Bring your
passenger
brother
seat,
with you.
cause we're not letting you in. I mean, that's just one example of,
I mean, we could say residents,
or.
residents just
Here
have
to
to use
see
the scale.
Jolene.
That was a good one. That was a really good one. I'm here to see my friend Joey. Or pack. with-
Vehicle entirely full of trash
Filled
and
with trash.
recyclables.
I mean, we could say that if you are a resident, then don't have a sticker, you just have to use a scale.
We could do that as well.
A resident or a property tax.
You
That
could
was
do-
actually a weird one.
You
That
could,
was.
you could do that simply all the time. You don't have a sticker, you use the scale.
But do they get the 400-pound exemption?
No,
Oh,
no.
That, you know, it's gonna be the first question they ask.
Well, I mean, then all of a sudden, we're like a competing price with Concord.
Let them go.
What?
Let them go to Con.
No, I'm saying we're cheaper though, so
We shouldn't be.
we should. Yeah. I think in general it work. I'm not. I'm trying to think if there's an easy way that we can. If someone repeatedly breaks rules, if we can. Identify their sticker and not them. It kind of feels like Mr. Rado is volunteering to sit and block people.
We'll call you next time. You're welcome to join us.
the sticker ordinance has language in it about fines. It's just like,
Okay.
it's in there. But if our history has been that we don't ever take that step, and there's a difficulty in identifying who the violator is, you know, I don't wanna put something on our police plate to do that, you know, it's gonna take them hours and hours and maybe not go anywhere.
Has to have real bite.
But yeah, it does say that you're subject to a fine not to exceed $200. You violate provisions of the ordinance.
But that ordinance is more than just the stickers.
It is, yes.
So
Yep.
somebody could have a sticker. And all we're talking about right now is stickers.
Yes. But I mean, I was just adding that because Thomas was saying, you know, what do we do
Yeah.
about enforcement? I mean, the language is currently in the ordinance. Find someone. I just think we need to be really clear-eyed about what it would take to try to actually impose that fine. And it sounds like from Neil's comments, you know, we can't get a license plate number and use that. So we have to refer it to the police to do an investigation. And I'm sure they would be thrilled to be investigating something like, I mean, I say that facetiously, but I'm sure if we asked them to do it, they would, but. There may be better uses of their time.
We make more money on speeding fines.
Yes.
You might only have to do it a couple times and
Well,
that would be, the word would get
I
out.
mean, that's the thing, is that if there was, you know, a handful of individuals that were the same ones. You know, perpetually violating and, you know, maybe it would only take one or two to set an example. But it would, I mean, I think it would take a good bit of work to get to the point where we could try to collect some of these fines. But it is in there. I mean, we have. It's part of the ordinance, so.
And it is nice, it doesn't escalate fines, it just says if you keep doing it, then you lose privilege.
Right.
So it's not like we have to keep chasing down more and more fines, like there is an escalation.
Got enough sticker stuff, Neil?
Well, it's,
I had a sticker question. for Neil.
Fire.
Yeah, so I mean, if we were to do new stickers every year. What would you recommend that process look like here at the town hall to implement that?
so it would come, we would tie the color of the sticker in with the color. I don't know if you know, your inspection
Yeah.
sticker and your license plate have to match,
Yep.
which is how police know whether you're not registered or not. So your dump sticker would be the same. We'd have to figure out how to designate the color, but designate Hopkinton and Webster differently. It could be different color ink, it could be a border, it could be
Different shape, like they have
Different shape.
diamonds now, and we have
Yeah.
a rectangle.
Yeah, yeah.
Relatively.
So it'd have to be and then whenever you registered your car, you automatically receive a new sticker each year that you put on when you do that. And then the way you match it is you compare the two to make sure they're the same color. And if they're not the same color, then it's not a valid sticker.
And you, I think it was you said something about, maybe it was Thomas, if we did new stickers, we'd be able to catalog some information about who the stickers belong to.
Which we do have all the numbers of who got them, but it wasn't always entered through the years. So somebody could enter all that, but it would make more sense to me to start from
Start fresh.
scratch.
Yeah.
Enter it, because clearly the people that have ancient stickers aren't in any database at this point. So to implement it, do it, maybe do one in the beginning, switch everybody over to next year's color, do it, come up with a plan to get it out now, which would go through next year, and then January 1st of 2026, start the switch over. Yeah.
Of course, the issue is that we'd have to be sort of using two colors in the same year, because some people get a new sticker in January, some get it in December.
That's why it
That's right.
matches
Yeah, you gotta-
the
yeah, you gotta
color
have
of your
match, yeah.
inspection sticker so that you can compare them.
What would be the impact on, do you think, the staff to have to implement that?
I think if it was a regular base, I don't want to speak for Christine,
No, I know.
but I think if they were just entering them, it's probably just as easy to do that when they're doing it as it is
Yeah.
anything else, but we can certainly talk about that and how a good database can happen. And
Be effective, would Webster have to be doing it simultaneously?
they would do the same thing. And they have been, their clerk gives them out at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, it would have to be done in both places the exact same way.
Mhm.
From Saturday, it seemed pretty much the same in terms of Hopkinton versus Webster for how many people had stickers or didn't. There wasn't like a difference between Hopkinton and Webster.
I mean, that process of annually getting a new sticker, I mean, it seems the most promising simply because we get to a place of enforcing, that's the simplest way to do it.
Yeah, that seems like a really easy way to.
I think about the sort of the impact on staffing. And get Webster on board as well, but that does seem like, you know, an actual thing we could try to address.
Any other low-hanging fruit we want to try to address now? Neil, is there anything else that you're looking for some consensus on at this point?
Commercial trash, raising the fee to what NRA recommends.
So fees are on there, but, and it sounds like as far as accepting commercial trash, things will stay the same? Or is that,
I mean, personally, I think that commercial trash kind of has to be tied in with green bags, like whatever we decide, like we should. talk through green bags before commercial trash.
Why?
Those do tie together in that. So the ordinance says all residential trash, even if it comes from a hauler, should be in green bags. And that waiver is something that the board gave.
I think, and my reason, the biggest reason to me is that if we're gonna say we're not going to accept commercial trash, it means anyone who's doing curbside pickup, their trash is not coming to the transfer station, which means they are not going to be, they're not gonna have to follow the green bag rules. So that basically just immediately says half the town is just not going to be part of the green bag. That's is kind of problematic to me.
I didn't say that we shouldn't accept commercial trash anymore. I said we should raise the fee
No, right, but
to a level consistent with what NRA recommended,
that's different. Yes, I agree.
whether it's in green bags or not.
You think even if it's in green bags?
Mhm.
If it's in green bags today, we don't charge them anything.
That's correct, because it's paid for when they buy the green bags.
So Jeff, what's the rationale for charging?
The rationale is we gave that hauler a preferred agreement. That hauler thanked us by introducing a warrant article by petition to regulate how much we could charge for the disposal of trash.
I understand your rationale for the non-green bag portion of the trash they're home, but why for the green bag portion?
Because they didn't appreciate the fact that we gave them a deal. And they tried to regulate how much we can charge after we helped their business. Which is the epitome of being ungrateful. And it's easier for us to simply charge everybody for commercial trash at the rate that NRA recommends. And I don't believe for a minute that their entire truck is full only of green bags on any day of the week.
I think that's potentially a different issue.
I think actually it's a small truck that goes out and gets those separately. I don't think the big truck's used for green bags. Now,
It's not that many green bags.
that's since after the exception was made, there were very few, which I think is some of the reason, a
So-
big part of the reason we've seen the drop in sales.
Going through a lot of other towns' transfer stations, most just don't deal with commercial trash. But those that do, the ones that I've seen, they don't really have like here's our commercial trash rate. It's more of like you can get a permit to be a commercial trash hauler in town. And then we'll figure out how that's gonna work. I don't know if we'd wanna do that, where it's more of like it's not just like a free for all for commercial waste. It's like we have to negotiate exactly how that's gonna work in town first. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think though they charge a permit fee, but then it's based on weight, there is a tipping.
Yeah, no, right, but it's not like that can still be set through the permit process.
Well, we're only dealing with one hauler, so.
Well, but somebody brought up, I don't know who it was, I think it was Dan. I don't want to impact the villager. I don't want to impact Riverside. I don't want to impact every day. I don't want to impact John Herrick and his people. But we provided a deal to the hauler. The hauler tried to regulate how much we can charge. And that's not acceptable.
Is there general consensus that the commercial hauling rate is too low?
I believe it's well too low according to NRA. It's 40% low.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yes.
I mean, we even.
We
started to
increased
go
it.
through the process of increasing it, and then
Well, then
Stopped.
we increased it for non-residential waste.
yes.
So you increased it once, and then when Webster was here, decreased it a little, and then the next meeting decreased it more. So it's kind of
Yeah.
up. You're at $100 a ton. It was your most recent. But I think when Webster was here, you had agreed on $120 a ton. So there needs to be some decisions and then some reconciliation with the Webster board so that we're all on the same page.
We're paying 93 something.
93.60.
But the non-residential one is up at like the 150 rate, isn't it?
There is no
For like
non-residential.
for like the demo and all the debris.
Oh, that's demo is different than trash.
Yeah.
So those are two different things.
But is it worth trying to talk about green bags first then? Because feels like half of what we're talking about right now is whether or not there'd be a different rate for bags or not for commercial homes.
I don't think it's half of what we're talking about, but
What?
I don't think it's half of what we're talking about. We're talking about a commercial tipping fee.
No, right, but right now, commercial tipping fee is 0 if you have green bags.
As I said, I recommend a commercial tipping fee of 150. We'll talk about removing the exemption for the commercial hauler subsequently.
But the exemption is also different than the price.
Is what?
So right now, there's an exemption where they don't have to. And then there's also the price for commercial haulers who are bringing green bags. So it's,
For any commercial trash. Our tipping fee now is 100 and we're paying $94.
no, unless it's in green bags, in which case it's 0.
Right, and we're still paying $94.
It actually isn't even 100 yet because you haven't adopted 100.
Oh, yeah.
No, I seriously,
To me, the commercial tipping fee is easy. It's the easiest thing that we're talking about.
right.
The exemption for the hauler is a different issue.
No, I know, but I think what I'm trying to say is if you are going to also increase the price of commercial hauling for green bags. One of the main consequences of that is going to be having all of the people who are currently using commercial haulers with green bags, having them go use one of the other commercial haulers that don't require green bags. And so we'll have less people using green bags. So that seems, if the purpose is to keep green bags, that seems, that seems pointless. Or not pointless, it seems counter to the purpose of green bags.
Well, it'd be interesting to find out, what proportion of the hauler's load is in green bags now.
Very little.
Yeah.
Since
So
the exception went in place, very little.
Jeff, your 150, is that based purely on NRRA's recommendation?
Mhm.
And then should the green bag price be comparable?
Right.
And the 150 or whatever number, that has to be agreed to by Webster also.
All the fees do, yes.
I don't have that number, but I remember it being less than half for sure. I thought it was more like a quarter, but I wouldn't quote that.
So can we go any farther on commercial trash, or is that something really we have to talk to Webster and as well as get public input on?
Well, we could decide.
Yeah, I think we have
We
to
should-
make our decision and
Yeah.
present it to them as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, here's what we've calculated is necessary to run the transfer station, because that's what this is all about.
So Jeff, you're at 150.
And again, we're not set, I don't think we're setting up tonight. But the price we're charging is insufficient for the cost of disposal.
Do we know what, places that do accept commercial trash, say Concord, what they are charging?
Concord's up in like the 140s to 150s. I think it's pretty comparable to what we set our demo and tipping to. H2O runs their own, right? H2O runs their own transfer station.
I think they might.
I think, and I don't have a really good number for all clear. They go to an
I
independent.
think they just dump at one of the others.
Yeah, but they have like a negotiated rate that I think is like in the 120s to 130s range. I don't have a solid number on that, but
Mhm.
from the conversations I had, I'm pretty sure that's around what the rate is.
So we do pay we pay a tipping fee for everything that comes in and is put in the hopper from the haulers.
Mhm.
Plus, it does require additional,
Or staffing?
additional wear and tear, additional time and stuff. So there are definitely costs beyond the just the tipping fee.
I frankly, I forget the conversation where we decided to come down from 150. Was that after discussing with Dan? What was the rationale?
It was the next meeting after Webster was here. Yeah, it came down to 100.
Yeah.
I can't exactly remember why.
Was it somewhat consistency with the charges for other,
I think it was consistent with the charge for the green bag price, which you decided not to change at that same meeting.
Because we couldn't figure out the green bag, and so we were at the time trying to tie them together, I think. But I agree that our price is too low. I don't know if it should be 150 or something else, but yeah, I support raising it to a higher number than it is right now.
How do we, at the transfer station, how do we differentiate between residential and commercial waste?
Commercial comes in on the truck.
No, but I mean, a hauler would bring
Doesn't
in,
matter.
but so if we're saying it has to be in green bag, like we remove the exemption, then if someone's who's picking up a dumpster from Dimitri's, does it have to be in green bags?
Because that's not residential trash.
But how do you
There's no-
determine they're
There's
both
no
coming in a-
real,
But
there's
they're both coming in a truck. though,
not
that's
a
what I'm saying.
perfect way
So
to.
we don't have a way, we don't differentiate between commercial and residential right now.
No, before when it was, well, we don't now, but before green bags were picked up separately. So the truck had to be almost all green bags in order to get that exemption. If it was mixed, the tipping fee was charged, was the way it was done.
Right, but the green bag ordinance says that all residential waste pickup has to be in green bags. But there's no way to differentiate between a load, which is residential and not.
No. But when there was no exemption, they were paying for commercial trash if it wasn't in green bags.
Right, but I'm saying like, if you were to remove that exemption, there's nothing to stop a hauler from saying, oh, this load is just from Dimitri's.
But they would pay for it.
Right, but if we're removing the exemption and saying you can't do that, there's no way to enforce that, because we don't differentiate.
That is correct. And that's why the fee should be similar to the green bag fee, because it's consistent.
Yep.
It puts the burden on the hauler that if they want to not pay the tipping fee, it has to be green bags. And that you can tell just by looking at the load.
so is there a consensus that if we're not talking about haulers that are green, that are 100% green bags, that it should be something higher than $100?
I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay, then I'll go to the next step. Should it be, is the consensus that it should be 120?
I would support 120, yeah.
And why not the NRA recommendation?
probably, I mean, I think I would support 150.
I'd want to try to get a closer number to what the other commercial haulers are paying. For residential, I mean, I really would, I think there should be a way to differentiate between residential and non-residential waste. Because I think if it's non-residential waste, it should be at the same higher rate, but if it's residential, then I don't think it should necessarily be substantially higher than everyone else,
I just don't know how we do that.
right? I think it's probably closer to that 120 to 130 range, but I would just want to look into it a little bit more.
Thomas just volunteered.
Really
Thank you.
nuts.
Thank you, Thomas. So I think the consensus is that it's too low now and it should be something between 120 and 150.
And there may be a variance between commercial and residential.
If there's a way to tell.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I don't know how
I mean,
how you do that. It's either in the green bags or it's not.
One way to do it is to go back to the concept of having permits, commercial hauling permits. And then if it becomes an issue, we would have to figure out a way, like, it would have to be reported to us, or we'd have to know somehow, but then the select board would be able to remove that permit
For what?
for disposing of residential waste that aren't in green bags. So if we were to say all residential waste has to be in green bags, we need some way of enforcing that. Step one would be figure out if it's a problem. Once we determine if it's a problem, then we need a way to enforce it. Best way to enforce it, pull that permit. But That might be-
Moving on from commercial trash. And anything else that we can tackle tonight, or you'd like us to?
So what's your plan with pay by bag? Where are you
yeah,
going? What are you doing next? You haven't made any decisions, so what's your process to make decisions? Sorry,
No, I
I've been
understand.
talking this 14
No, I
years.
mean,
and
I
I
Those are good
just
questions.
Really,
I think on all of these so far, I think we have concrete recommendations. We could have a public hearing. Except for green bags, or except for payment bags.
I don't think for any of them you have to have a public hearing, public input.
Public input for-
Yes, but
Well, we
but
could
I
have
think the
another
whole, I
conversation.
think the issue that people want input on is more the green bags than anything.
And again, we've had the authority to raise the price for green bags for 16 months and we haven't done it. And every time we start to discuss it, we say we need more information. But we know we're not getting enough for the green bags at the same price they were in 2010. The price of everything in the last 14 years has more than doubled, probably tripled.
Okay, so if we are going to keep green bags, the price is too low, 100%.
Okay.
I think my bigger issue is that most of the feedback we've gotten over the last couple of weeks has been not in support of green bags.
I don't disagree that we've gotten a lot of that feedback.
So you should discuss that and make a
Losing money from
decision.
now till the time we make a decision next March. Why are
I-
we continuing to lose money when we had the power to change the price?
How elastic is that, if we increase the price, how many fewer people are gonna, follow the policy?
Well, not if we enforce it, if we enforce
Well,
it.
and
everyone-
enforcement,
That's-
it comes down to.
Like, so if we're gonna say we should do it, we have to enforce it and we should increase the price. Question is whether or not most people would want that. If we were to say this is what we're going to do and we're gonna do this,
What do you mean most people would want it?
if we were to come up with whatever plan we're gonna do now, if we had done that a month ago and said, this is what we're gonna do at town meeting, would town meeting say, let's repeal it? That's my question. Because if the answer to that is definitely, then I don't think we should increase the price of bags and then have 100% enforcement.
I don't understand why we continue to lose money on green bags when we have an alternative. And if it ticks people off enough between now and next year's town meeting, they'll kill the program. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
if we do increase the price of green bags consistent with that, you feel that we should be looking to hire additional staff for enforcement
If
purposes?
we're choosing to do enforcement at a significant level, we need staff. That's also not gonna happen until next March. I mean, the transfer station budget is what it is.
Don't I know?
And, you know, I mean,
And I think that would have to come out of the pay by bag budget.
It ought to, yeah.
It
Yeah, it
should.
would be 100% Hopkinton.
well, not if
No,
they're doing
it's-
sticker enforcement.
Yeah. It's not about enforcing greenbacks, it's enforcing all the rules of the transfer station.
Most of which is green bags. Is the issue.
I mean,
But go ahead.
go.
I hear, I'm not sure what I'm hearing, whether I'm hearing,
We
you
don't
might know, you're considering recommending doing away with green bags for town meeting next year. If that's the case, it seems like that decision should be made and we shouldn't spend all this time dealing with this and let town meeting speak. Or if we're going to move forward and start enforcement, we should do that and get the bag price to match. And
But are we saying that if we tried to move forward with enforcement of green bags now, we don't have the money in the budget to do it?
We'd have to move money to something else.
so 45,000 has been was that what we appropriated out of the pay by bag fund? So that that does offset. It would not go directly into the operating budget, but could be used for that purpose.
Yeah, but again, I mean, if we're gonna increase staff, I don't think it should just come out of green bags. I mean, that staff will be doing, if we have a full-time staff position, that person will be doing other stuff. It shouldn't just be covered by green bags. I mean, green bags should cover our cost, the Hopkins cost, but I mean, if we have a full-time person at a transfer station, Webster should cover their 25% of that.
That's easy for us to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the same as Jeff, I've heard an awful lot, just do away with green bags. And you know, so I'm sort of hung up on where to go.
Well, and again, even if we say we should eliminate the program, there's no guarantee at next year's town meeting, because I know several of the people here are gonna have a counter argument at town meeting.
I'm sure appropriately.
And yeah, and so, you know, that's not a guarantee. We shouldn't rely on the expectation that it's gonna be killed at next year's town meeting. The green bags are underpriced. They've been underpriced for at least 8 or 9 years since the program was first initiated. And it's 14 years ago it was initiated, but the bag prices may have been reasonably competitive for the first few years. But it's 14 years later and the price hasn't changed. It's not realistic.
So based on the total cost analysis, taking all the expenses, all the revenue from recycling, total weights, all those things. The current costs are the small and the large bags are 75 cents and $1.25. If it covers all of that, it would go up to 167 and 256. Roughly about 100% increase in bag prices. Just if we were to increase the prices, which if we're going to do green bags, we should increase the price. If we were to do that, I would say those would be the numbers.
I guess I'm worried about increasing the price of the bags without a corresponding increase in enforcement.
Yeah.
Because I think we're just gonna drive people to not use green bags. And so, I mean, I understand the rationale for wanting to increase the bags, but we need to enforce it. And that is gonna require, as we heard, some more staff. And we can move money around until town meeting to do that, and that assumes we can find someone to fill that position. And then present, for next year's budget, full-time staffing to do various enforcement at the transfer station and see if the voters support that. But if we're gonna play with the bag price and increase it, we're gonna have to move money around from what we've approved or what the voters approved to try to get some staffing to enforce it.
We don't know if we start enforcing it after a couple of weeks, a month, if we can go to spot enforcement and it'll work.
Correct.
I think that would be a little optimistic.
I think it will be an ongoing enforcement.
So the 45K you mentioned from pick by bag revenue, what is that currently earmarked for?
So that buys the bags themselves, and then the remaining goes into the operating budget to offset our share of the transfer station costs.
Okay. And what's the cost of the bags of that? How much of that 45K has left? Cost of the bags too. That makes sense.
We used to spend about 30,000. Now we're spending 5 or 6.
Okay. So, and then a part-time staff attendant, I mean, what will that run, do you think?
That's a good question. Okay.
It's also would be part of the year. You're gonna hire a part-time person for 8 months that is gonna get maybe the most
Sought after, job? Is that what you're?
no, the opposite. The one that may result in getting harassment from users.
I know.
It's probably between 25 and 30,000
For part-time,
for a part-time.
what about full-time?
Full-time would be substantially more altogether. I can't remember when.
It was 75 and did it. But, and again, back to Thomas's point earlier. Yeah, this person might be doing enforcement full-time for the first 3 or 4 or 6 months. But then they're gonna be spread to other issues that benefit the town of Webster as well as the town of Hopkinton. And so,
You're probably talking 40,000 in wages plus, oh, that's just, 40 to 50 in wages and then insurance and everything else, so you're probably talking 50 to 70 for full time.
I mean, it's your point, Kevin, as a part-time position, that probably is not a very attractive.
Even for a full-time.
Yeah, no, but at least full-time, you get a little more money and some benefits.
So if we were to increase the bag prices to match the total cost of the transfer station per ton, and then did 100% enforcement, the revenue from the green bag would be on the order of about $375,000, up from the current 60.
It's assuming the same number of people continue to do green bags.
No, we're doing 100% enforcement, so that's everybody who goes to the transfer station uses green bags.
Okay.
That's not surprising because when we started, we used to take in 125 to 130,000 a year. And if you raise the price plus make sure enforcement's good.
Or where do we want to go?
And I think to Neil's question about process. I mean, I wonder if. I guess I'm saying I don't know if I can make a decision without hearing public input on this. Understanding that it's not a binding decision because there's no town meeting vote or anything, but. I mean, we've heard a lot of. People that are not in favor of green bags in the last couple of weeks, knowing that we were gonna have this conversation. And so I'm suggesting scheduling a public input or a public hearing, or it's not technically required. To see what people think about increasing the cost of the bags and moving some money around to hire someone to do enforcement.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm actually more with Jeff on this one. It's like, if we're going to have
What?
that. If,
Let him explain, he's not gonna end up that way.
if we're going to have that discussion and take input, because I think that's the biggest thing, is like right now it feels like a toss up
Right.
as to whether or not. Well, right now, a lot of the input we're currently getting feels like it's not a toss up. It feels like
No.
the town will vote to say no.
Yes,
But I think that if we said, this is how we're going to implement this plan,
give us feedback.
I actually had no idea what that feedback would be.
Yeah,
I know what some of it will be, but I don't really know all that will come.
That'll be the big question, is how that public meeting is managed. Is it a, do you like green bags or not, or is it, we need to raise the price in this?
No, I think it's, we need to properly, as a select board, we've been told to implement this plan. This is how we are going to implement this plan. What is the feedback on implementing this plan?
Need to keep
And-
the public meeting on track.
Right.
Yeah.
To that end, I would say we would increase the large bag to $2.55 and the small bag to
Say
$1.
doubling the price.
Double the, well, yes, yeah, but
Simplest way
but it's cheaper to use it's cheaper to use small bags right now for some reason. But yes. Roughly double the price. And then say, this is how we're going to do enforcement. We are going to move over to a different way of doing stickers. This is what's gonna happen if you don't follow the rules. This is what's gonna happen as we're doing spot checking, and then have that as like a feedback point. And from that, 1 million people come and say, well, 5,000 people come and say, this is a horrible idea, then that's a different thing.
We may have to move the location of this particular public meeting.
But I part of it, I think we should also, along with that, the commercial waste should be part of that too. Whether or not we're going to end the exemption for commercial waste and how we're gonna do commercial versus residential.
that, I mean, I was with you until you added the commercial at the end, because I just feel like that's a lot to sift through. We're gonna take in public.
Well, the easy one is say we're gonna remove the exemption.
Yeah,
That's like. That's just like what the waste coming in is gonna follow it, but.
I guess maybe I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about creating a separate category for non-residential commercial waste.
I actually don't think we need to. I think it goes back into the penalty. Like right now, there's the fee. That fee doesn't differentiate between commercial and non-commercial people. And if you don't follow the rule the second time, you lose privileges. And it doesn't specify how we say, like, doesn't specify you lose your sticker. So I think it's kind of taken care of.
Okay.
Like, my concern is that someone would go around the rules by just saying like, oh, this isn't residential waste.
Right.
This is from a non-residence. But
I think we have commercial waste defined.
right,
Can't
but,
remember.
but if it's all in garbage bags, how do you know, right? If all you see is a truck coming in. How do you?
Right, but we only have one hauler that brings commercial trash, so. That's that.
No, but I'm saying like you need some way of saying like what happens after the rule is broken. And if it's already in there, you just lose privileges.
So in terms of the next step for pay by bag, the thought is we hold another public hearing, whatever you want to call it, where the options would be doubling the green bag price and using funds in the budget to have somebody, help enforce the pay by bag. Or the other is status quo until the town meeting. Those would be the options.
But I think, I guess, yes and no. I mean, I look at it as we're proposing to the residents that we want to increase the green bag program and use money from elsewhere for part-time staff to enforce. And then we're getting input on that proposal.
But, I mean, I think it's more than just that too. It's also how we're gonna change stickers and how we're gonna change. You
But
think-
I think we've already addressed stickers.
yeah, I thought
You don't
we were
wanna
putting a
keep
spot on
It's
stickers.
gonna be broad enough as is.
Yeah,
Thomas hasn't been here as long. He hasn't been to all these meetings.
Well, we should let him run this one.
No, I'm gonna be glum that night.
but I guess
Oh,
to your comment, Ken, I mean, if we do this and get overwhelmingly negative feedback, then we'll have a decision to make about whether we move forward. with
Well,
raising the green bags.
and I think, saying that we want to raise the price of the bags, so I'm gonna step up enforcement. We're not forbidden from stepping up enforcement anyway,
No,
right? I mean, we could take that money and put someone out there every day that the transfer station's open and start sending people away who don't have green bags.
yes,
It would be contentious, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily we have to do both. We have the chance to do one or the other or
yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I would almost say it has nothing to do with how we are going to, we are going to enforce it. Like if we're going to increase, we are going to increase, or we're going to enforce the policies.
So I think what I've heard is you're gonna put a firm plan based on what is just said, and then that will be presented at a public hearing to gather input.
Does it have to be called a public hearing? Is a public hearing required?
Public input. Either
I forget,
not have to be.
when we got the authorization to set the bag price, does that require a public hearing?
I don't think it was specifically in
It's
there.
one of the documents he provided us.
It is, I know, I was just looking for that.
I can't.
I don't remember, I just don't. And I don't know the rules that well.
Oh, here we go. Hold on.
Do all fees require a public hearing or
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think so.
It could be,
I'd have to. look
oh,
at
because the green bag is just a fee change.
Just says to
It's not
authorize the
Hopkinton.
select board to set such costs. So the warrant article didn't require public hearing explicitly.
I don't know if statute requires a fee.
Yeah, I
a
don't
fee to
know.
be reviewed. You know everything.
I don't know that, yeah.
But I think what
Mark
you're
it down.
talking
Let me
more
go.
about is a public input session on this plan to make the, then
Yeah.
to make the final decision.
And I think we can call it a public hearing, even though, we want to listen to what people have to say.
And again, I don't know if the actual term public hearing has a connotation. It's different than a public input. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think for a public hearing, you would have to meet the required postings and we would do that anyway. So I
Yeah.
don't think it matters.
Okay,
So when would we want to hold this?
what's the required posting?
So how are you putting this plan together?
Thomas was gonna-
I can work the draft something and then we can talk about
I
it.
can work with you.
There is actually, I think, only one thing in here, sorry. You're gonna say?
I was gonna say, I can work,
Oh,
happy to
great.
work with you and get that done and then, so that what's a reasonable timeline?
Next Monday.
Next Monday?
Sure.
Send it to me.
Perfect. And then you can
Yeah.
discuss it then and
Okay.
then
Oh, we can do it at my house over bourbon.
that's
that.
good.
There is
Steve,
one.
you're
there is-
in,
I
aren't
want to
you?
be on this committee.
There is one thing we discussed though that I think would require, because any change to a policy, any change to an ordinance do require a public hearing, right? True. The only thing that we discussed that isn't in this so far is what adding in the ability of non-stickered residents to use the transfer station somehow.
Oh, yeah.
And so that can be very simple. That could just be, we add in, if you don't have a sticker, you have to use the scale and you have to show ID.
So we already have a draft ordinance update.
Yeah.
That kind of waiting till all this was finalized so that Hopkinton and Webster adopt the same ordinance. So that could be
That could be
added,
added in that.
added to that, which will go through the process.
So just so I'm sort of clear, so at our next meeting, there's gonna be some written proposal memorializing what we've decided, and the board will have one more chance to look at it, and then if we like it, we'll schedule and hold a public hearing to hear from them, everybody in town. Is that, do I have that right?
Okay, but then at that next meeting, do we have public input on it? Or do we make that?
Well, there'll be
portion of
public
us?
comment. Right?
Yeah.
Public comment at
Next
our regular
meeting's
meeting.
agenda is really packed, so it's going to be late when you get to that, but
And I don't have a trip.
What,
I-
sorry,
I would almost think public comment would be more effective all at once, but
That's why I was saying, could we make that small portion a work session? And not have public comment and have public comment at the next meeting. And we're
we
gonna
still have
propose-
normal public.
Oh, we don't tonight.
No, he's saying
But-
if the pay by bag thing was a work session, there couldn't be public comment on that topic. And then we could schedule the public hearing.
it's your
I think
meeting.
is what you're saying.
You can do what you want.
Can we have a work session in
You
the
don't-
middle of a
you don't
regular
have-
session?
You don't, I'm not at all advocating this, but I don't think you have to take public comment ever. That's not a good
No, no,
thing.
no,
I'm
no.
not saying, but I don't think it's required. It might be to
Unless it's a public
get,
hearing.
it might be to get reelected, but it's, yeah, unless it's a public hearing.
No, I totally agree. We do want public comment. It's just what is the appropriate time to do that? And I think it sounds like it's after we sort of develop the,
Doesn't make sense to go midnight if we're gonna have a public hearing for that.
Right. So if the plan is sort of together, then we would put it out there and publish it and make sure people can see it in preparation and advertise the public hearing. The meeting after that is a Tuesday night meeting right after Memorial Day. I don't know if that's the smartest to have it or to have it at the meeting in June. I also don't think you want to go too late in, I think you want to have it at that first meeting in June because
Before school's out.
before school's
Yeah,
out.
Well, and not to decide tonight, but I wonder if this should be a separate public hearing, not part of our regular meeting.
That's,
Because I sense this is
Could
gonna
be.
be a long discussion.
I mean, we basically fixed everything in like 3 hours, so.
we fix it.
Sort of.
Sort of,
Yeah, Jeff said, curbside pickup,
that's right.
every problem.
But
Okay,
you
so
can present the $1 million tax increase.
not tax increase, tax decrease. It's all paid for.
No, it's,
Um,
that's
so-
not.
I think it's worth, I don't think we should talk about it now, but I think it might be worth, I just want to bring it up to talk about in the future, so it doesn't get lost. I do think that Jillian and Dan both brought up some other things that might be just helpful to them. Like, she mentioned it's back, like the loop is backwards. If there's ways that we can improve stuff, how people are traveling through there. I think it's worth continuing the dialogue with both Dan and Jolene to see if there's other stuff we can do. I don't think maybe after this process, but I do want to continue that process.
There are some good models out there. And I think it would have to probably be in the CIP plan because it's
Yeah.
fairly extensive, but the design, as you heard, and as we all know, is not the best. Almost everywhere else you go, you're putting your recyclables through a window and access for staff is from the back. You don't have a loader running through people. It's kind of a
It's unique.
yeah, it's a unique system. Yeah,
That's the word.
it was, that's it, unique.
Well, I just
It's a
wanna-
unique system.
I just want to express my disappointment. I was very optimistic when Ken said we were gonna have 6:30 finish. It is now 7:45. Let me know, Ken. And with that, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Can we, Neil, do you need any more?
Um, I just want to give you a couple very
Oh,
quick
sorry, Neil.
updates, but that's okay. Just so you know, I'm the acting human service director because we don't have one at the moment. And I think everything else can wait. I'll just note Kelly and I have been working and have some insurance options that we will bring to the next meeting as far as higher deductible insurances that could be an option, which I think look like a good option for everybody.
Good.
And we want to put some things in to incentivize people moving to those, which will save both employees and the town.
Great, okay.
Before we adjourn.
We haven't voted yet. Go ahead.
No, we haven't, but I mean, I'm bringing this up because it's all sort of top of mind. I mean, we talk a lot about the waiver and what we're gonna do with that, and my sense is we're gonna wait to address that after we get public input and decide what to do. But I didn't want to leave that out there.
Wait, the waiver for,
The hauler urgency.
I thought that was gonna go away as part of it.
That
That's
was
a
not,
possibility.
that's a possibility, but I didn't know that we had voted to take that action.
We had not.
We haven't voted on
voted.
anything.
Not,
No, we haven't voted on anything.
okay,
Should that go in the?
That's what I was saying.
That's what I thought.
Oh,
That
I
was
thought
going in
like
the
as
plan.
part of the plan we'd be talking about.
oh,
if
God,
we-
okay, you're gonna address it, thank you, that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
missed, thank you,
Yes.
that's.
Are you putting something together, or is Neil, or the two of you? or-
I think Thomas is starting and
I'll start it and it will be
I'll get fresh bourbon.
it'll not be a scattered shot. It'll be,
So you're gonna put the first draft together, and then you're gonna,
And then we're gonna sit with Neil.
okay. Okay,
Second the motion to adjourn.
first, is there any need for non-public? I mean,
it's not on him.
That's a placeholder, I
Yeah,
think.
okay, so.
My only question
Is,
is,
I guess.
since Sabrina is gone, do we still need roll call votes?
No.
No, okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thanks for coming, folks.